So good afternoon, everybody. This is the bond meeting for the Planning and Zoning Commission for November 2023. This request is for a special use permit for a drive-through facility on a C1 zoning district. Let me start sharing my screen with you guys. So currently, what you guys are seeing is the proposed site for the special use permit. If you guys remember, fairly recently, they rezoned and got a special use permit for a daycare facility for this section over here, closer to the neighborhood. When it was approved, there were some restrictions on comments on the fencing. The building is placed further back. There's parking in front, and it's going to be a full commercial development with different buildings over here. Okay. And this is the proposed site plan. So as you guys can see, on the left side is the daycare that it was previously approved. The Sienna Court development over here in the north, there's some detention, the fence, all that's been built currently. And this is where their proposed drive-through to be at. I don't have the applicant online at this time. So let me explain as much as I can from the information I got from them. So the location of the drive-through was proposed because it would allow to have internal queuing without creating any kind of additional congestion or people stacking over a HERF. So people can literally, if need, it would be a quite popular place to need all this drive to go to the window and ordering. So here's the pickup window and the ordering equipment is going to be around here. So it will have the separation from the residential that is required based on the code. And it does provide enough queuing from what is required on the engineer design manual. As Tiffany asked before, this side here has a stormwater detention and retention indicated on the site plan. They are required to provide that based on the based on city code, and they have some restrictions. So if they're placing the detention and retention facility over here facing HERF, that cannot be a cement like structure. It needs to be more of a like minor slope where it's not dangerous to people walking by. Another point that I want to highlight here is that when the special use permit was approved, there was some comments on the parking facing HERF. Too many people crossing would cause some concerns about crossing with kids. They removed the parking on this side and kind of had to redistribute some of the parking around the development. So if you guys remember the material that it was presented with the daycare, this parking places over here were moved from the front of the daycare. They're still doing the planning for this subdivision. It's not done yet. So even though they have the special use permit for the daycare with the size and location as it was approved, and they're requesting right now the special use permit for the coffee shop on this parcel. None of these other things over here are established. Those are all wishful thinking and how they would like to have developed. We still don't have any kind of detail for the building or if they're going to have outdoor seating and all that stuff. We still don't have that information for this application. We're going to be looking into the drive-through itself. So making sure that the community, Planning and Zoning Commission, and City Council, they think that this location is appropriate for a new drive-through around town. Do you guys have any questions that I may be able to answer?
I have a question as far as like the turnaround. So that heading in the direction of River Road, that little crossover will tend to back up then with not only the daycare, but the coffee shop and other things, right? Like it's going to prevent more congestion right there.
This one here on the bottom?
I'm talking about the cutoff, the cutoff, like where you towards River Road, like towards the gas station, and I want it to come into our road, Green Meadows. I have to do a U-turn at that little turnaround. That's going to be used more heavily, not only for the daycare, but for the coffee shop as well, which will most likely back up Perf Road. Like it's going to cause a lot of congestion.
So this is Renita. May I speak?
Sure, yes. I was
So,
going to the aerial to that side so we can look at that too. But go ahead, Renita.
okay. So I've lived in my house for 13 years. And when I moved on this was a 2-lane street. When they did the construction, that cut through was open and we had access to U-turn both directions. So people coming from River Road could U-turn, and then people from Oak Park could also U-turn, and we also had direct access into our street. And then they blocked it off, and then we had the further single U-turn closer to River Road. Now, I don't know about you, Tiffany, but I've taken that turnaround and people think that it's a U-turn for River Road, and I've almost been hit multiple times. And so I totally agree with where I think you're going and assuming that there will be more traffic, that it's hard for us to get to our street on Green Meadows when traffic on Herf Road is backed up and we have to wait multiple light cycles just to get to that turnaround. So having the daycare and more businesses there is going to be even more difficult for us to even access the U-turn to even get to our street. And then having more traffic on Herf Road in general, preventing us from getting to our street, meaning it's going to take us several light cycles just for us to navigate getting to our house. So when the original zoning for 12 Herf went from residential to business, I protested that with all I could. And I was basically told, oh, well, so sad, you're out of luck. The business owner, the landowner is going to get their zoning. So now they're asking for another zoning from business, which was just supposed to be a strip center with like a bank and a daycare all in one strip center. Now they're asking for drive-through. Well, at the time, they were promising all kinds of things about fencing and lights and things like that. Now I'm thinking with the whole situation with the drive-through and a coffee shop, we're going to have more lights and more traffic. And a coffee shop means that there's bigger signs and more lights that are going to be even earlier in the morning. And that's going to ruin our dark sky situation, especially by the creek, where we do have wildlife that comes in. And that's just going to become more of a hazard as people are driving in the dark, or we're going to have more lights that's going to prevent our natural wildlife right there by the creek that feeds into the city park and the nature center. So this just makes me so very sad all around. And it's just another point that the applicant isn't even part of the business, isn't even a part of this meeting to even participate, to even hear what the landowners right next door are going to be. And most of the people on the street are either brand new, such as Tiffany, or the people at or the people across the street who are going to be sharing a fence line with this, or the people who are right next to me who just bought their house and just moved in a month ago, or the people across the street who are selling their home because of the cottages that are being built behind them. And so the people there who are buying their house, that it's just there's just so many people who are involved, who are coming and going and selling their homes or buying new homes, and they're not even getting a chance, and they're all involved, and we don't even have the current landowners for that property willing to come and participate in a meeting. And so, and now they're asking for more rezoning after I really was not even happy with the fact that it went from residential to B2, and now they're trying to ask for a drive-through. After they were so adamant that it was only going to be like this very quiet, sleepy, professional business strip center. And now they're wanting a drive-through for a coffee shop, and that's just going to increase the traffic. So at what point is that all going to just stop with the we want more situation?
So I
So
do agree with you, Renita. This is the first bond meeting that we don't have the applicant here. For the meeting last week, we had some technical issues and couldn't log in. I don't know if you guys happen to be present, and we really apologize for that. Is this the turnaround that you're talking about, or you're talking about the turnaround closer here?
If you're asking me, it's the one closer there that you said after the apartments where we have to turn around to get to our street. But I'm with Renita on this. This is not fair to those homeowners that are here. And especially, I'm sure many of them did not know. I would not have known if someone had not put a paper on my door last night about this meeting. Like, how do people know about these bond meetings?
So the bond meetings are sent out as a city agenda notification. You can sign up for those meetings. I can send you guys the link. I also, when I was there last week, and I put up a sign, and it's a yellow sign. I know it's not super huge. It's kind of not ideal. It's difficult when you're trying to advertise. So the city agenda, people to sign up for the city agenda notifications are most likely to be notified of those, because that's for sure it's going to go to your inbox. You may read it or may not, but that's more of a direct connection. For the public hearing itself, we did send out public notification last week. You guys are probably going to be receiving it with the lucky of the post office, maybe tomorrow or Wednesday. But even if you don't receive, you're more than welcome to send us an email telling us if you're in support or against the request. And if you need more information, you can do the same thing. Just send us an email. There's the general planning at bernie-tx.gov, or you can send it directly to me. My email is S from Sarah, Bennett, BENNETT at bernie-tx.gov as well. So we really want to make sure that you guys have all the information you need to understand what's going to be requested, and that's part of the process. We understand that the property owner has the right to request, and you also as a property owner has the right to oppose, and we are here just to make sure that everybody has a say and the information is transparent both ways. This is why ideally we would have the applicant here as well.
So Sarah, last time when 12 Herf was being asked for rezoning to B2, they told me that my property at 117 Green Meadows didn't qualify for being notified because my mailbox was 2 feet outside of the notification boundary. So that means that people further into the cul-de-sac would not be notified. I didn't get a flyer on my door last night. And so I may not even get anything in my mailbox. I happened to get an email in this situation, and I noticed because I was riding my bike that there was a yellow sign. But that doesn't mean that the people further in the cul-de-sac are even notified or even aware at all, because even the email doesn't even really indicate that it's a property affecting us. It just says that it's a planning meeting, and it doesn't say that it's specifically for 12 HERF. But I can definitely go talk to the people further into the cul-de-sac to notify them that this is what's going on, so that way they can notify you of what they think about it. But as it is, some of them are selling, some of them are buying, and some of them are renting. So I mean, for the few houses on our street, we have a very active real estate market on our street right now. Um, and because
Yeah,
I
I
was
do
pushing,
understand too.
because I was pushing hard with the B2 change, and that's what I dealt with. I dealt with an elderly community who I even self-addressed stamped envelopes for them, so that way all they had to do was write their statements of what they thought about it, and it still seemed like it fell on deaf ears about the rezoning as it was. And now we have these landowners who are asking for more. Like they think that we forgot about it, or they think that there's new landowners and they just don't care. And so, but it is very frustrating. But back to the land cut. Yes, it is that concrete divider right across from the apartments where there is barriers. So when you're going, you can see where they put up very strong curbs to prevent people from using it. So that was the first turnaround, and for some reason, right, so that is, for some reason, they blocked all that off and make people start using that U-turn further up. That is it's a accident hazard waiting to happen, because people from River Road think that because there's not a very solid U-turn, that they use that as a U-turn as well.
I may forward that information to the street department, because that will be something that maybe they can do something to address and try to mitigate people, avoid people from doing that. But for this the particular development, this like turn lane would be open to access here. It was part of a variance approved before all this started for access here. So this U-turn, it's not a U-turn, it's a left turn, was approved for this driveway here.
Yeah, I don't think it's the left turn that we're upset about. It would be the amount of traffic, especially in the morning, like she said. Are there numbers as far as the amount of cars, and that if you ever travel down HERF during those peak times, it can take you 30 minutes for 3 miles.
I'm pretty familiar.
So, I mean, what the traffic for a coffee shop during peak times, and it would just add any business. And plus with the conservation and the animals, they are taken away. Like how residentials can't have lights that face certain directions for the purpose of trying to keep the dark skies. So I wonder what type of rules this business would have to follow.
They have to follow all the dark sky requirements about no light trespassing, no uplighting, the signage. When illuminated, they have to turn it off after an hour after they close. There are some restrictions on how bright it can be. All that applies to them, especially
But for
being in new
them
development.
starting early morning, they would be starting probably like 4 or 5 in the morning, right?
I don't know the hours of operation. I think those are all valid questions, and we will have this meeting posted probably tomorrow around noon, and I'll make sure to send it to the applicant and make them watch it, because all the comments that you guys are making are really valid, and they have to be aware of what the community's concerns, and this is part of the process. You guys have questions, and they have to understand if they want to be part of the community, what needs to be addressed.
Because we
I
haven't
just-
even talked about the older oak trees that are there that are actually doing very well in that area either. Because clearly those are all going to go for them to have this extra concrete and drive through space and retention pond situation. Because that is all right where they want to have all of that stuff. It's not like they're putting it further back and they're being conscientious about where their driveway is. They're talking about clearing where all the oak trees are to put these things.
I just want to say that I agree with all of the statements that have been mentioned so far by Tiffany and Renita.
Thank you, Terry. Yeah,
I think
I
the
was-
pressure on HERF is already significant, and to add a drive-through coffee, it's going to back up traffic, and that intersection at River Road and HERF, that's it's just does not make sense to add high volume businesses like a coffee shop, especially a drive-through coffee shop.
Yeah.
Anything like that is just does not make sense.
Hi, this is Sharon Wright. Can I weigh in here? In agreement with you guys, actually. Can you hear me?
yes, we can.
Okay. So I don't know if first of all, there is 3 coffee shops within anywhere between half a mile and I think 3 miles of this location. And I don't know if anybody has observed the traffic that occurs with drive-throughs, but I know On the Grind, that's one of my favorites. I go there, but it wraps around the building, and there's a significant amount of parking lot, and it still wraps around the building at heavy times and almost spills out onto Main Street. So I can see that happening on HERF, and you're right, they will be competing with the daycare traffic. So that is concerning, and the turnaround is also concerning. And I haven't looked at what the master plan and the UDC shows for what that area is supposed to be. But I was also at the meeting. I think it was the planning and zoning meeting when they were asking for the special zoning variance for the daycare, and they were asked several times, so you are only asking for the daycare, nothing else? And it was repeated multiple times, and they said yes, only the daycare, nothing else. And that's how they got their variance. But I'm concerned that they're trying to push things through just one variance request at a time. So I would love for them to be forthright in what are all of your actual plans, because it is affecting an entire residential community that, probably when they moved there, they weren't counting on all of this. So that's all I have.
So just really fast on that. So when they requested the daycare, they were already talking about the drive-through, but they were just kicking tires. It wasn't nothing set on stone. They didn't have they had a wishful thinking of what they wanted. And I do believe that if they had presented everything at the same time, it would be very confusing for people to distinguish one request and the other. When they're presented separately, it's clear, like, this is what you're approving. It's not, they can approve one and not approve the other, and independent of which one is being presented. Sometimes they request a special use permit, two different uses that even though they both request a special use permit, they have different impact on the neighborhood, that one would be okay and the other one may not. And that's why we did, but so the neighborhood commercial, that is the future land use map that is currently up there. The recommendation is a low impact commercial. So the idea is something more neighborhood oriented and not necessarily something that would be generating traffic the way some of those
Yeah.
would.
Okay. I just worry that our drive-through is going to generate a lot of traffic because it is quick and easy. And I agree with the comments about the time of day. I think Starbucks and both On the Grind get started at 5 a.m. with their drive-through because, you know, people are leaving pretty early. And I'm sorry, I think I misspoke. I didn't mean like present all of their zoning requests at once, but at least give an overview of what they're looking to have put in there. I think they did give a very faint picture of it, but just so that the neighborhood, the people that live in the neighborhoods somewhat know what to expect rather than having, you know, one little mini bomb dropped on them at a time. Anyway,
No,
sorry,
it
I
makes
just wanted
sense.
to clarify that.
No, it makes sense. I totally understand what you're talking about.
Hello, I live directly next to this property. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
And yes, that the daycare required different zoning. They had to change the zoning. It wasn't just a special permit. They actually changed the zoning for that strip to put in that daycare. But I got my notice from the Planning and Zoning Commission today about the hearing for this special permit, and it's going to be on Monday, November 6th at 6 p.m. at City Hall. So I hope the people that are making these comments can come to that Planning and Zoning Commission meeting because that's where it actually, the action will take place.
Yes, the Planning and Zoning Commission and City Council, Planning and Zoning Commissions make a recommendation to City Council, and City Council votes on it after. It's the idea is to have many different opportunities for the community to participate and share your guys' opinion. This is part of the process. This is what this is all here for.
Thank you for letting me know. I'll let my neighbors know since clearly I'm not getting notified because I already checked my mail, and the 12 HERF is out of, so I'm like in the middle of Green Meadows. So everything further west of halfway dividing will not be notified because we are outside of the notification range.
Yeah, unfortunately, so we did notify the HOA and we did receive
We don't have an HOA.
So somebody sent saying that it was the HOA, saying that you guys are not in favor of it, and that's I don't know who sent that one. Maybe that's a good one to follow up because I saw the email earlier today. But we have to notify people within 200 feet of the request, so it's not that far. This is why we try to notify the neighborhood association so they can spread the words to the other neighbors that are not necessarily within that 200 feet.
Yeah, Green Meadows is not part of an HOA. Neither are any of the adjoining streets either.
Mm-hmm. So do you guys have any more questions, comments? I do ask you guys to attend the meeting or at least send us your opinion through email or the letter. It's really important. Go ahead, Tiffany.
What would have to, like, is there a certain amount of number or what would have to be done to prevent
I can see by your microphone moving up and down that you're talking, but not all of your sentence came through.
Okay, I'm sorry. Let me walk inside. What would have to be done? Is there a certain vote, or what would have to be done to prevent that from happening, from a coffee shop being put there? What prevents them from moving forward is my question.
Well, if you guys watch some of the P&Z meetings, you see that they are pretty mindful of the community opinion. We ask that you guys send us your comments, and that's all part of the information that Planning and Zoning Commission and City Council do receive. There is some situations where the surrounding property owners can request a postponement on the request for review. But let me look for that because I don't know. I don't remember that on the top of my head.
I was wondering too, I have one more question. I don't know if you could answer this one. On the thing, it says Good Neighbor Coffee. I did some research and it looks like they're out of Austin. Is that the same coffee company?
I'm not 100% sure, but at the end of the day, if they get the special use permit, if it is a good neighbor or if it is on the grind or if there is a Starbucks, the approval itself stays. They could call it something else.
Okay.
This is why we try not to focus on necessarily what the name is saying. It's mostly on the use. Are you okay with the use, independent of who the property owner is and all the other details on the operation?
Yeah. And did you have those numbers as far as like the traffic numbers that are already happening in that area? Because I'm assuming that a coffee shop there would attract all those high schoolers in a rush, and all the, that the area would change the dynamics of the amount of people that are coming on her.
They have submit traffic impact analysis to the engineering department, and I'm sorry, I'm not an engineer, so a lot of those numbers for me don't make a lot of sense. But for sure, we're gonna have the engineer to talk about this during the meeting. If you have questions, you can send me an email and I can forward to them and they can clarify, because I don't want to say something that is incorrect and kind of mislead you guys towards one side or the other. So what it's saying is that if you have more than 80% of the neighbors within 200 feet of the development oppose it, I think they need to have 3/4 of the vote in city council to be approved. So it needs to be the majority of city council. It does count.
How many people
So
was
that's
that?
quaffling 4 people.
Well, yes. So city council, we have 5 members.
No. That means 4 neighbors. There's 3, not even that, because that property is adjoining to the daycare academy. So there's only 3 homes that affect that. It backs up to the development where there's the cul-de-sac being built. So there's nobody buying that right now. There's 3 properties that back up to it. And then there's the one furthest north that touches it that are closest to. So we're talking like less than 10 people when there's so many more people who are actually affected. I'm standing out in front right now at the stop sign and I'm just watching the amount of traffic right now at 6:15 on a Monday night. Dumbfounded at the amount of traffic.
Based on what it is on the code right now, I would say yes. So at the same time, even though the code has that information, I would also tell you that Planning and Zoning Commission is way more flexible on that type of boundary, and they hear the neighbors way more outside of that because they understand that Bernie is not like it is a smaller kind of quote on the smaller, but everything that is done in a specific area of town is going to impact way more than just the surrounding properties. It impacts the whole thing. So they are way more flexible on anybody that has something to say about it and has comments for it. So this is why, independent of you are going to receive or not going to receive a notification, I recommend sending out your comments, and if you have anything else that you like to send, just let us know, because they do consider everything that we receive and they do get copies of all of it.
So this is Renita again. Have they even considered the extra trash that's going to be on the road? Because I know some of my neighbors and I, we already pick up significant amount of trash that goes along Herf Road. And so we're looking at extra coffee cups and associated trash that's going to be thrown on our, basically on our street that blows directly onto Green Meadows when the wind starts to blow and directly onto Herf Road. And they can't say that it's not because I pick up trash bags quite frequently.
I understand what you're saying, but it's kind of on my side of like, it's kind of difficult for me to say one thing or the other. I'm not the developer, I'm not the business owner. So I understand your comment. And I do think that the best thing I can do right now is compile all this stuff and make sure they watch this meeting to understand what the neighbors' comments are. And I'm sorry, it sounds very vague, but I'm trying my best to work with what I have right now since they haven't showed up.
Who hasn't shown up?
The applicant.
Oh, yes.
So if you guys are okay with this, I will we can close the meeting for today. And you guys can send me questions, comments, I can forward it to them. Also, you can send me your opinion or all that communication. I can make sure Planning and Zoning Commission members and also goes to City Council packet so they have that information. If you have questions or if you haven't received the site plan and you want to look at it with more time and look at some of the details, the information that is here, just also send me an email and I can send this to you so you have time to review what they're proposing, to understand and like have a grasp of what's being proposed so you can have a better understanding and can have a sound opinion about what's going to be presented in the next couple of weeks.
Sue, could you repeat your email address, please?
Yes, it's S from Sarah,
Mhm.
Bennett, BENNETT, at bernie-tx.gov.
Thank you very much.
With that being said, this meeting is also going to be available through our YouTube channel tomorrow. So if you guys want to send the link to other people to watch and try to understand what's going on, you're welcome to as well. Once again, thank you guys for joining us. It's a part of the process. We really appreciate you participating.
Thank you.
You guys have any more
Thank you.
questions? Good night, everybody.